Good morning, dear students. Under our Unit 3 in Employee Relations and Labor Laws, today we'll be discussing Factories Act 1948. So basically, what was the need of introducing this act, that is Factories Act, although it started in 1881, and then it underwent a lot of changes and and saw a lot of amendments. So, what exactly was the reason for introducing this Factories Act 1948? So, first of all, we should know that what actually a factory means. So, basically, the term industry refers to a study and systematic activity in which a trade is organized, whereas a factory is a place where such activities are being carried on. So this makes the difference between industry and a factory. So the first cotton textile factory, which was set up at Bombay, it was as early as 1854, and then subsequently it was followed up by the first iron and steel work, which was set up in Bihar in 1873, and then another a jute spinning mill was started in 1855. Uh, Similarly, there were lot many textile related industries and factories which started to establish. And in 1870, it was Bally Paper Mills, which was set up at Hooghly. And thereafter, several tanning and leather factories also were established at Kanpur. So, thus, by the end of 19th century, numerous factory establishments were in existence in the country. And talking about the Great Britain in India to the factory system in its early stages, it brought with its numerous problems and evils, such as employment of women, children of tender ages, excessive hours of work, and hazardous and insanitary working conditions. So all this led to the need for protective labor legislation, um, ameliorating the conditions of workers, particularly women and children. And it was felt as early as 1850s. But nothing concrete was done by the British government. Though by that time, a series of Factories Act had already been passed and enforced in England, but it was not implemented and in same pace in India. So textiles which were made in India, they started competing with those manufactured in Lancashire, the main center of textile in Great Britain. So the when it was that there were excessive, work hazardous, excessive hours of work, hazardous and insanitary conditions. So the productivity, the quality of productivity went lower. So they alleged that the inferior labor standards prevailing in Indian mills, it resulted in lower production cost, and hence it increased the competitive power of Indian textiles. To them, one way of preserving their competitive power was to increase the cost of production in Indian mills or by raising labor standards. Thus, the Lancashire manufacturers became the immediate instrument for initiating protective labor legislation, which came into embodied in the Factories Act 1881. Then it saw a lot of amendments in 1891, 1911, and then it also underwent change in 1922, and then 1934. Then again it saw the changes pertaining to lot many say manufacturing processes, working hours, the condition of working. So, and finally, in 1948, a comprehensive bill was prepared by Government of India on general lines approved in ninth meeting of Standard Labour Committee, and in the light of discussions which were held by the chief inspectors of the factories of the provincial governments. The Factories Act 1937 of Great Britain was taken as useful guide in drafting the bill. It was introduced in Dominion Assembly on 3rd December 1947. So it was passed on 28th August 1948 and received the assent of the Governor General on 23rd September. So the act thus passed, it came into force on 1st April 1949. So significant amendments were introduced in the act in 1954, 76, 1987, and we again have a pending labor bill, which is again, which will, if it is if it receives the majority of the favor, then it might lead to a overhauling of this Factories Act 1948. So when we talk about Factories Act 1948, basically it deals with the entire day-to-day administration of the factories, which is governed by the Principal Act of 1948, Amendment Act, which was an improvement of 1934 Act. So the Act seeks to ensure what it all covers is health, safety, and welfare of employees, working hours for adults, annual leave with wages, and employment of women and young persons. So basically, it is dealing with say all these aspects, including occupational health. So basically, the objective of the Factories Act is to improve health, welfare, and safety of workmen, to regulate by imposing restrictions as to hours of work, including rest and provisions for availing leave, then to make stringent provisions as regards employment of women and young persons and duration of their work. So, talking about the mm, coverage of the Act, factories, what it all covers. So, factories using power and employing 10 or more workers on any working day of the preceding 12 months. Factories, if they're not using power and are employing 20 or more workers on any working day of the preceding 12 months, and the factories specially notified under Section 85 of the Factories Act of the state government or union territories. So all these would be covered under Factories Act 1948. So when we talk about Factories Act, it rather deals with certain definitions. There are lot many definitions which are given in the fact as per the Factories Act, and Factories Act in itself is a combination, and you can say combination of multiple schedules which are dealing with various say maybe provision for health, safety, welfare. So all this is being covered up in Factories Act 1948. Talking about the important definitions which it covers. So first is factory. What exactly factory means? So factory means any premises wherein 10 or more workers are working, or were working on the day of preceding 12 months, and in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on with the aid of power or is ordinarily so carried on, or where 20 or more workers are working or were working on any date of preceding 12 months, and in part of which a manufacturing process is being carried out without the aid of power. That means with the aid of power, where we are having 10 workers, and without power it is 20 workers. Then definition of a worker. So worker means a person who is employed directly or through any agency, even including a contractor, with or without the knowledge of principal employer, whether for remuneration or not, in any manufacturing process, or in cleaning any part of the machinery or premises used for a manufacturing process. That means worker is a person who is doing any of the work related to the manufacturing process, directly or indirectly, or the subject of manufacturing process, but does not include any member of the armed force of the union. Then basically what manufacturing process means. So under this Factories Act 1948, manufacturing process, it means uh, any process for making, altering, repairing, ornamenting, fishing, packing, oiling, washing, cleaning, breaking up, demolishing, or otherwise treating or adapting any article or substance with a view to its use, sale, transport, delivery, or disposal, or pumping oil, water sewage, or any other substance. Then generating and transforming or transmitting power, or composing types of printing, printing by letters, press, lithography, photogravure of some other similar process of bookbinding, then constructing, deconstructing, repairing, refitting, fishing, or breaking up ship or vessels, preserving or storing any article in the cold storage. So when we talk about Factories Act 1948, basically it gives us a layout of what all will be included under manufacturing process. Although the act itself is before, you can say, 1950, before the Constitution of India came into existence. So, and at that time, the sectors and the industries which were prevailing in India, they were very limited. So, quite possible that new, say, areas, new industries, new sectors have come up after 1950 and after 1948. So, uh, there is requirement of including all those things into manufacturing process. But having said that, most of the processes which are commonly used for manufacturing, they have been included in Factories Act. Then definition of a day. What is a day? Day, it comes from, we are talking about the number of days a person should be working in in a factory. So day means a period of 24 hours beginning at the midnight. Then week, it means a period of 7 days beginning at the midnight on Saturday night. That means Saturday night onwards till next Saturday would be comprising of 7 days. Then calendar year, it means a period of 12 months beginning with the first day of January in every year. This is not the financial calendar which we are talking about, but this is the factory or working calendar which we are talking about. So it starts with the first day of January. Then power. It means electrical energy or any other form of energy, because we may have different sources of energy. So, which is mechanically transmitted and is not generated by human or animal agency. Then prime mover, it means any engine, motor, or other appliance which generates or otherwise provides power. Then very important is hazardous process, because factories might witness during the process of manufacturing of any product, there could be a hazardous process involved in it. Like, for example, when we are talking about, say, chemical plants, we are talking about mines, we are talking about, say, iron and steel industry. So there are a lot many these industries where hazardous processes can take place during the manufacturing. So, hazardous process means any process or activity in relation to an industry specified in the first schedule, where unless special care is taken, raw material used therein or the intermediate or finished products or waste or effluents thereof would cause the material impairment of the health of the persons who are engaged in the enterprise or in the factory, or results in pollution of general environment. So, provided that the state government, it has to notify to the through official gazette and amend the first schedule by way of addition, omission, or variation of any industry specified in the said schedule. The next is fatal injury. What you will say call as fatal injury, because all these definitions are very very important from the point of view of each and every law. Each and every act. For example, when you are when you are settling down a compensation case, you must need that what is a fatal injury, what would be non-fatal injury, and so these definitions are very very relevant from the point of view of various acts. So fatal injury, it means injury resulting from industrial accident which causes death of the worker. That is fatal injury. Non-fatal means Injury which is resulting from industrial accident which prevented injured worker from attending to work for a period of 48 hours. That means if a person is meeting with the accident and is not able to join his or resume his work up to period of 48 hours, that would be non-fatal. Then adult. Who is adult? Adult means a person who has completed his 18 years of age. Who is adolescent? A person who has completed his 15 years of age. Child, a person who has not completed his 15 years of age. Then average daily number of workers employed. So how we are going to know what is the average daily number of workers? So it is calculated by dividing the aggregate number of attendance on a working day. That means how many are the average number of workers who are uh, aggregate number of workers who work for a particular say days by the number of working days in the year. So the head count basically you have to divide by the number of working days in the year. So attendance on separate shifts, that means probably night shift and day shift, should be counted separately. Days on which the factory was closed or for whatever cause, and days on which the manufacturing process was not carried on, should not be treated as working days. Sometimes plants and factories, they are closed for maintenance purposes, for for process of uh, cleaning, even cleaning purposes of for example, you are in a biscuit manufacturing, so you will have to clean the oven which is used, or you have to clean the mixer. So for that, those particular days, those will not be counted as the working days. Then mandates work. Mandates work means total number of attendance during a calendar year. Then average number of hours worked per week. So the average number of hours worked per week means the total actual hours worked by all workers during the year, excluding the rest intervals, but including overtime which is being worked. So this you will be dividing by the product of average number of workers who are employed daily in the factory and 52 weeks, because in a year we have 52 weeks. So in case of the factory, if it has not worked for the whole year, the number of weeks during which the factory worked should be used in place of 52. So these were some of the important concepts and definitions which are used as a reference for rest of the acts and has been given under Factories Act 1948. Now, as I said that Factories Act, it deals with the provisions regarding to the safety, then provisions related to um, health and welfare of the workers. So, first is provisions regarding to the safety. Uh, this was basically introduced when it was amended in 1948. So provisions regarding safety was introduced in that particular say time, how it should how you should take care of the safety measurements in the say factory. So first is fencing of machine. So every moving part of the prime mover and every flywheel which is connected to a prime mover, maybe the head race, the tail race of say water wheel, or any of the machinery, they can be very dangerous part of any part when a person is moving over there. So they must be securely fenced by safeguards for substantial say construction of the machine. Is not to be allowed to handle a belt at a moving pulley unless the belt is 6 inches in width and the belt joint is either laced or flushed. So talking about that, one has to be very, very particular about that women and young persons are not allowed to clean, lubricate, or adjust any part of prime mover or of transmission machinery while it is in motion. Then, uh, second is our employment of young persons on dangerous machines. A young person is not allowed to work at any machine unless he has been sufficiently instructed of the dangers arising in connection with the machine. So this is basically you are not letting young persons to work on dangerous machine, and this is according to the provision of uh, Factories Act 1948, Section 23, which is dealing with this. Then striking gear and devices for cutting of power. So Section 24 of this act, it deals with that suitable striking gear or other efficient mechanical appliance has to be provided and maintained and used to move driving belts. Then self-acting machines. This is as per the Section 25 of the act. So it says that no traversing part of a self-acting machine in any factory is to run its outward or inward transfers with a distance of 18 inches. So it says that Factories Act related to safety says that it has to be within a distance of 18 inches from any fixed structure, which is not part of the machine. And if a person is liable to pass over the space over which it runs, then the chief inspector of the factories may make exempting orders in case of factories installed before commencement of act, right? Then similarly, casing of new machinery. Section 26 of Factories Act deals with casing of new machinery that every factory installed after the act should set screw, bolt, or key, or any revolving shaft, spindle, wheel, or pinion, spur, and so all these they have to be properly encased or guarded in order to prevent the danger to the workman. Then prohibition of employment of women and children near cotton openers. Similarly, 20 section 27 of this act, under this schedule, it says that women and child workers are prevented from being employed in any part of the factory for pressing cotton in which a cotton opener is worked. Then hoist, lifting machines and others. Again, Section 28 and 29 of the Act, it deals with it that they hoists and lifts, they should be of good mechanical construction and of very sound material. So they are to be properly maintained and examined by a competent person at least once in every 6 months. Then revolving machinery. Section 30 of the Act, it deals with it that how you should maintain safety if you are having a revolving machinery in your factory. So that when the process of grinding is carried on, uh, a notice indicating the maximum safe working peripheral speed of every grindstone or abrasive wheel has to be properly exhibited so that it is communicated to the workers who are working on that particular machine. Similarly, then pressure plants, it is again dealt by Section 31 of the Act, where the work requires more than the general atmospheric pressure. Effective arrangements have to be made on to ensure the safe working pressure. Like the people are working at boilers where they have to face the extreme pressure. So then you need to maintain the safety as well. Then floors, stairs, and means of access. Section 32 deals with this floor, stairs, and means of access that they should be of sound construction and properly maintained. So this is so as to have a safe means to access uh, provided to the workman to its workplace. Then pit stumps opening in the floors and others. Section 33 deals with it that every fixed vessel, tank, pit, or opening in the ground in a floor considered should be considered as a source of danger, and it should be securely covered or fenced. Then excessive weights, section 34 of the act. So it provides that no person is employed in any factory to lift, carry, or move any load which is likely to cause him an injury. And prescribed weights, from time to time it is being prescribed by the state government. Then protection of eyes, then precaution against dangerous fumes, gases, and others, they are being dealt by section 35 and 36 respectively. Then precautions regarding use of portable electric light, section 36A. So no portable electric light or any other electric appliance of voltage exceeding 24 volts should be permitted for use of for use inside any chamber, tank, vat, pit, pipe, or anything, or even in if any inflammable gas, fume, or dust is likely to be present in such a space. So no lamp or light other than the flame flow proof construction should be permitted to be used. Then it is precautions in case of fire. We have a very infamous case of Upahar Cinema. Although it was not a factory where the fire broke out, but we are talking about the precautions in case of fire. Right? And there was a case in the hospital as well, in so long back in Mumbai, where this fire broke out, and a lot many patients died because of the poor arrangements of the fighting arrangements. Similarly, there was again infamous case of a coaching center in Surat, wherein again they were very poor firefighting arrangements which were made available over there, and with the result, lot many students who were there at the time when fire broke out in the coaching center, they had to uh, they had to lose their life. So section 38 of the Factories Act, it deals with the precautions in case of fire. Then specifications of defective parts or tests of stealability. Section 39 of Factories Act, it deals with that. The inspector of factories may require specification of defective parts or test of stability, and to this effect, they may ask the manager of the factory to furnish drawings, maybe specifications, and other necessary particulars, and may also require him to carry out specified tests in the specified manner. Then safety of buildings and machines. Then provisions for having safety officers, and this all is being dealt by section 40B. That all arrangements have to be made as per the Factories Act 1948. If you are a factory, if you are employing without power if you are having 20 or more employees, and with power if it is 10, and then a machinery is involved in that particular, say, unit. Then similarly, provisions regarding to health has been laid down by the again by the Factories Act 1948, which is talking about cleanliness, then disposal of waste, and effluents, ventilations, and temperature, dust, and fumes. Uh, so, cleanliness is dealt by Section 11 of the uh, um, schedule regarding to health in Factories Act 1948. That every factory has to be kept clean and free from effluents arising from any drain, privy, or other outlets. Accumulation of dirt and refuse are to be removed daily. The floor of every workman is to be cleaned at least once every week by washing or any other suitable method. So they then it also gives the provision for painting maybe after every 3 years, and then cleaned in the entire plant, maybe possible at least once in every 14 months. and they have to be whitewashed and color washed at least in every foot. So for provision for cleanliness also has been um, kept into consideration in Factories Act. Then disposable of waste and effluents, because every industry which is into production or something or the other thing is generating certain effluents and waste. So there has to be a sufficient and efficient disposal of waste and effluents, which have to be made in every factory for the treatment of waste and effluents due to the manufacturing process, and this is being dealt by section 12. Then effective and suitable provision has to be made in every factory for securing and maintaining adequate ventilation by circulation of fresh air besides reasonable temperature required over there as per the processing is as per the product and processing which is which is taking place inside the plant should be and must be maintained in every workroom. So this is again being dealt by section 13. Then dust and fumes. Effective measures must be taken to prevent inhalation and accumulation of dust and fumes in any workroom. In case of exhaust appliance is necessary, like dust and fumes, wherein if you are working with a, let us suppose, flour mill, if you are working with say any in any chemical plant wherein you or in even cement factory, so wherein dust and fumes, you a person is uh, exposed to all these dust and fumes. So say, Factories Act 1948 deals with the with it under section 14. Then artificial humidification, uh, where humidity of air is artificially increased, the state government may make rules regarding standards of humidification. Methods to be used for artificially increasing the humidity, tests for determining the humidity of the air, and the methods to be adopting for securing adequate ventilation and cooling of the air in the workrooms. That means the water should be used for the purpose which should be taken from a public supply of drinking water, and again it is being taken care by section 15 of the act. Then overcrowding, the act it also provides measures for avoiding overcrowding in the workrooms. So there must be in every workroom um, of the factory in existence uh, at least 9.9 cubic meter of space for every workroom. That means it is providing, it is Factories Act is providing a space for every workman, and that is minimum of 9.9. And the minimum space has to be at least um, 14.2 cubic meter for factories which are built after the commencement of the act. That means if factory was built before commencement of act, then 9.9, and if after, then 14.2. This is being taken care by section 16 of the act. Then lighting, drinking water, then latrines and urinals, and spittoons. It is being taken care by section 17, 18, and 19 and 20 respectively, wherein it deals with the that every say establishment must have effective arrangements for maintain a sufficient supply of wholesome drinking water, and they should make also provision for sufficient um latrine and urinal accommodation of prescribed types, so as to you know in case of a nature call, workers and they ensure that they release themselves over there, and then for latrines and urinals, sweepers have to be employed, and where more than 250 workers are ordinarily employed, all latrine and urinal accommodation is to be prescribed of sanitary types. So it is also again being taken care of by Factories Act. Then spittoons, like if you are working in a factory wherein you are continuously inhaling certain dust or maybe fumes. So it might generate a lot of saliva in your mouth, and a worker needs to spit. So in every factory, sufficient spittoons have to be provided at convenient places, which has to be maintained in a clean and hygienic condition. So again, because and this provision of having spittoons also um, provides that no person is to spit within the premises of the factory except in the spittoons, and whosoever spits in contravention to this provision is a punishable act. And this is being taken care by section 20 of that. Then provisions regarding to welfare of the workers. Again, Factories Act, as I said, that mainly it focuses on safety, health, and welfare of the workers. So, talking about the welfare of the workers, the first thing is, say, washing facilities. The provision for washing facilities you know, um, have to be it has to be provided by the factory to the say worker of the plant. So adequate and suitable washing facilities for the use of men and women workers separately have to be provided and maintained in every factory, so that it is easily accessible and it has to be kept clean. Again, section 42 of the act. Then if you are washing, then it might be requiring storing and drying cloth. So again, section 43 of the act, it deals with this, that there has to be a provision for storing and drying of wet clothes. Then facilities for sitting. Suitable sitting arrangements have to be made for all workers who perform their work in a standing position, so that they may avail themselves of any opportunity to sit at the time of rest. So this is mentioned under the section. This is mentioned under section 44 of the Act. First is first aid facilities. First aid boxes or cupboards containing nothing except prescribed contents have to be kept in every factory. Each first aid box or cupboard has to be kept in charge of a separate responsible person holding a certificate in first aid treatment recognized by the state government. So that means if if there are 150 workers working in or ordinarily employed in the factory, then has to be at least one first aid box to be provided. And in every factory where more than 500 are ordinarily employed, an ambulance room has to be provided and maintained. So only prescribed contents and equipments are to be kept in the ambulance room, which is to be kept in charge of a medical and nursing staff. This is being um, this is being provided by section 45 of the Act. Then similarly, canteen, shelters, restroom, and lunch rooms, they have to be provided um, if if there are again 150, if there are more than 150 workers who are ordinarily employed, then restroom, a shelter, and a canteen has to be provided. And for this, we have section 46 and 47. Act also requires the provision of maintenance of creche in every factory where more than 30 women workers are ordinarily employed. Then creches must have adequate accommodation and are to be adequately lighted and ventilated and maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. Trained women are to be appointed to take care of children and infants in the creche. And for this, we have section 48. Then section 49 deals with the provision that you need to have welfare officer um, for every where 500 or more workers are ordinarily employed. So the occupier is required to employ such number of welfare officers may be prescribed by the state government. So this was related to provision. This was related to the Factories Act, which were the main objectives and the provisions which is being provided by the Act. And this act, it is enforced by the factories directorates under the state government and the administration of union territories. And the Ministry of Labor and Employment in the central government is accountable to Parliament for ensuring uniform application of the act throughout the country by issuing model rules to be adopted by the state government and union territories with necessary modification to suit local needs. So basically, these are certain provisions which are being dealt by the uh, Factories Act 1948. Although it is a very lengthy and it gives all together, as I said, that it deals with all day-to-day operations of the factories. So one need one all the factories and employers and owners, they need to adhere to all these provisions and schedules which have been specified under the act. So this was all about Factories Act. Thank you.